I would like to present Ms. Amy Floyd, who works here at Piedmont PVCC. She works in the Writing and Testing Center. I had a chance to meet her this year. We'll get to know you better this year versus last year. We didn't have a chance to meet because she was being treated for her breast cancer. Ms. Amy, personally, to me, is someone who's, not only a fighter, but somebody that's wise and shows consistency on a daily basis. She lights up a room, personally. I know I've had bad days, and what I got going on, she'll talk to me and share encouragement, and that definitely changes my day for sure. Without further ado, I'd like to present Ms. Amy Floyd.
Thanks everybody for coming. My name is Amy Floyd. I work in the testing center. Some of you have probably seen me come into your placement test. Thanks to the BSA for inviting me here to share my story, and thank you all for coming. Many years ago, I came across a quote from a pastor named Chuck Swindoll, and he said, "Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it." This quote hangs on the wall by my desk, and it's been there for years. But over this past year, I found myself reading it over and over again. There is so much to my story, so much that I'm leaving out. I had to whittle 1 year of my life down into 20 minutes. It's impossible to cover everything. But I do hope that what I say inspires you, makes you laugh, but ultimately encourage you to take control of your health and your attitude. I consider myself pretty healthy. I've exercised 4 to 6 days a week regularly for the last 12 years. My husband, Sean, and I went plant-based 4 years ago, except we throw in some cheat days here and there, usually dessert. My belief was that if I did these things, if I was healthy, I would be able to avoid any major health issues. So when I turned 40, it's time for your mammogram. And at this point in my life, I had never had a problem with doctors. There was rarely anything ever wrong with me, so why would I be concerned about my mammogram? I had no lumps, I had no pain. I'm just following the rules. So on June 10th of last year, I go for my mammogram. It's a 3D mammogram. It's not painful, it's not comfortable, but I don't think it's necessarily painful. And the text says, just procedure. If something's not right on the scan, they're gonna call you back and have you come in for another one. Okay, no problem. Not another thought about it. Well, I get that call. Hey, we need you to come back. We need you to do another mammogram. So I go back, and there's an area of calcification, and on the scan it just looks like little specks. And that's an area of concern for them. So they have me do an ultrasound the same day, which then leads to, oh, we are really concerned about this. We need to schedule a breast biopsy for you the following week, which is where they take a needle, stick it into your breast, and pull out cells so that they can get it sent to get looked at to determine if it's cancer or not. The doctor calls me the following Monday and tells me my results. And he says the biopsy does show that I have cancer. The official diagnosis is invasive ductal carcinoma. I don't understand what he's saying. I can't even spell what he's saying. I take my best guess and I write it down. He asks if I have any questions. Questions? I still don't understand what you said. So I hang up the phone and my husband's there and I say, I can't believe this. I am the healthiest person in my family. Why is this happening? It doesn't make any sense. This can't even be possible. And that's all I say. I'm sure I cried a little bit after the call, but mostly I just kept repeating those sentences and getting madder and madder as the night goes on. As evening drags on, the doom now starts creeping into my mind because I don't know what this means. Is it a death sentence? The not knowing, the not having an understanding was the most terrifying part. When Sean and I go to bed, we hold hands, my mind is racing. I'm 40 years old. I've only been married to my husband for 9.5 years. I have plans to grow old with him. That's why we're eating well and exercising, right? I have plans for a Notebook ending. Has anybody seen The Notebook? You know what I'm talking about then, right? I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody who hasn't. It doesn't take long for me to start falling apart at that point. Uncontrollable sobs. Sean holds me and we cry together, and he says, I was wondering when this was gonna hit you, because apparently I had been too calm earlier in the day. Through the sobs, we finally calmed down. I keep repeating my sentences. I get angrier and angrier, but somehow we managed to pull it together and go to sleep. The next day, I call my breast care navigator, because they all have fancy titles, and ask her to explain what my diagnosis actually means. And she says, what happens your ducts are like a straw, and there's cancer in the straws. And the straws, the cancer has now gone out into the rest of the breast. And we don't know at this point if it's gone anywhere else, but there will be tests to show that. The other thing she says is that I am triple positive, which means my cancer feeds off of, that's how I say it in my mind, estrogen, progesterone, and HER2, which I think is a protein, but I always forget. So these three things are feeding on my cancer. And she says the next couple weeks, well, many weeks, are going to be really rough. It's going to be a roller coaster because you're going to be going to all these appointments trying to find out exactly what's going on. And she's right, because I have 1 to 2 appointments every day for almost 2 months. I finally meet with my breast surgeon, and we come up with a plan. The plan is to have a left mastectomy, because it's only my left breast, with a flap reconstruction. And the flap reconstruction is where they take skin or fat, either from your shoulder blade or your stomach, and form it into a breast once they've taken out all of the cells. You know what that means, folks? Free tummy tuck. Yay! She also says I'm going to have chemo once every 3 weeks for 6 cycles, so that's September 29th was my first one through January 12th. I also have to have Herceptin, that fights the HER2 protein, once every 3 weeks for a whole year, and I finished that up this past August. That drug's not so bad, it's easy. I don't have to do any radiation, yay! But I also have to do hormone therapy to eliminate the estrogen in my body, and that causes me to go into menopause. 41 years old, folks, dealing with menopause. It's awesome. All right, this is a stressful meeting. This situation, this plan that we've developed is really heavy on my heart, and I've come with several questions, but there's a very important one that I need to ask. So I start, in cases like mine, and then I pause as I cry. What happens to the patient? What is the prognosis? She says it's going to be an extremely difficult year, but you'll be 100% cancer-free by the time we're done. And that's what I needed to hear. Sean's not getting rid of me yet. And then I remember the quote, 10% of what happens, 90% how I react. And so my reaction is I'm going to fight, and I'm going to be as positive about it as I can. Up until this point, Sean's the only one that knows. I haven't told my family, I haven't told my friends, and I've kept this secret for a month and a half. Now that we have a plan, now that all the tests have mostly been done, I start to tell family and friends. I must remember that I've had a long time to digest this information, so when I'm telling it to people, I need to be calm, I need to put it in a way that doesn't upset everybody so much. So I came up with a motto. My motto is, it could be so much worse. So much worse. And so as I tell people this, I make them repeat it with me, as you guys are going to do right now. So, what could it be? So much worse. All right. Everyone I know, once everyone knows, I start to organize my team. I have a list of friends' email, I have a list of family email, and I send messages to them throughout this whole situation so that they can keep up on what's happening with me, and they can ask questions or just support me. And people often ask this situation, how can I be so positive? And I reply, I have to be. I'm triple positive. There's no other way to be. All the cancer cells are removed during surgery, at least that's what we believe. But just to be safe, I still have to go through the chemo. I asked my oncologist, how will I react to chemo? And he says, everyone's different. Some people fly through it. That's going to be me, because I'm fit and healthy. This is going to be a cinch. No, I did not fly through chemo. I call it the miserable 3-week cycle of side effects. Your body is not your own. The chemo does weird things to your body, and then the meds you take to help with those things does weird things to your body. It's a merry-go-round of side effects, and I experience almost every possible side effect you could possibly have from the chemo drugs. And I get new side effects every single cycle, so just when I think I've got everything under control, something else brand new shows up. And as I go through this, I think so much for being fit and healthy, but it could be so much worse. Very good, guys. All right, day 15 after my first chemo is when I start to lose my hair. I'm in the shower, I'm washing my hair, and clumps of hair come out. And then I think, that's okay. That's all that's gonna happen. That's all that's gonna come out. And I go to sleep. The next day I come up, wash my hair, more hair starts falling out, and I realize, oh no, I'm not going to avoid this part of it. But Positive Amy was like, oh, this is gonna be it. No. So that day my husband had to shave my head. That was a tough day. Even though I knew it was gonna happen, something about me bending over the sink while he buzzed my head was awful. It was awful. On day 18 is when I go back to work after having 6 days off, or 6 weeks off from surgery and my first chemo. And I had decided that I wasn't going to, or I didn't want sympathy or sadness or people crying. So I go back like this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have a mirror, so you'll just have to, imagine it, right? So this is my chemo wig now. Every time I go to chemo, this is what I wear because it brings joy to people. People laugh, people say, man, that looks great. The nurses love it. And in fact, one of my nurses, when she would meet with her breast cancer patients, she would tell her about me and say, she comes rocking a pink wig. All right, pink wig. And because I wanted people to say, man, she's got a good attitude, she's kicking butt, and it just makes a lot of people happy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there were some bad days, really bad days. And during those bad days, my goal during chemo was to take a shower. Like, that's it. That's the only thing I had to do that day. Because I could easily see myself just laying on the couch for days on end. Walking was really hard. From the time I got from my car to my office, I was out of breath. And stairs were an extreme sport. I have to go to the hospital the day before chemo to get lab work done, and I'd make myself park in the parking garage, walk all the way over, and walk all the way back. And on the way back is when I hit the stairs. Every step felt like somebody was adding 5-pound weights to my knees. Every step got heavier and heavier, and it felt like I was walking in quicksand. It was awful. For somebody who had been so fit and healthy and worked out all the time, this was really, really difficult. I had my final chemo this January in 2017, and I had worked so hard to be positive about it and to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And when you finish chemo, you get to ring a bell. It's in the middle of the nursing area, so the nurses cheer and the patients cheer, and it's just a really great feeling. And I'm thinking, wow, I've made it to the end. But it isn't over yet. The chemo has wreaked havoc on my body for over 4 months, and now after all this time thinking I was in the clear, chemo says, hold on, darling, we're not done with you yet. The swelling in my body, usually my legs, that used to last 2 to 3 weeks, hangs on for 8, at least. I lost count. The most painful thing I had to deal, I lost all of my eyelashes and 75% of my eyebrows. And this is after chemo. This is like a month after chemo this is happening. And then the most painful thing I had to deal with was my nails. My nails did really gross things. I'm not even gonna talk to you about it because it would just gross you out. But just know that they hurt so badly. I couldn't tuck my hands in my pockets. I couldn't tie my shoes. Touching everything was just, it was miserable. And that lasted probably a month. That was the toughest time because it wasn't fair. I had followed the rules and now this. I was very upset, but eventually, day by day, I started to feel better. Week by week, I started to feel better. And now I say I survived chemo. Because it wasn't the cancer part, it's the chemo part that you gotta get through. So where am I now? I'm back to working out 5 to 6 days a week. Fun fact, when you go through chemo, there's a chance that your hair changes. This was my original natural hair color. Notice anything? No, not even close. The upside is that it's really thick now, and I can do fun things with it. Maybe, I don't know what it looks like now, but. So, just a few more things, and then I will be done. I get really troubled now when I see commercials for women who have had breast cancer and now it's spread to the rest of their body. Makes me a little nervous. I get worried when I hear about celebrities who have fought breast cancer and now the cancer is back. Okay, because that could be me. Like, as positive as I am, I guess I have to be realistic about it at this point. No, I'm not the one who makes that decision, so who knows, it might come back. I now have an underlying fear of going to the doctor. Because now I've got really bad news. who's to say it's not gonna come, other bad news is gonna come. I truly believe that had I not had the mammogram, I would not have known about the cancer. Because remember, there wasn't a lump, there wasn't pain, and had I waited a year or 2 or 3, it could have been stage 2, could have been stage 4, it could have been anywhere else in my body. I also find now that I try to spend more quality time with my friends and family. I spend money on things that make me happy. Not a whole lot of money, I'm not a spender. But if I see something I like and it's reasonable, I'll get it. And I go ahead and wear the expensive earrings. And I use the pretty plates, because what am I saving them for? What special day am I saving them for? The other big thing that happened is I got rid of things that I didn't need. I purged my house. I went through things that I'd had since 5th grade and got rid of it. Because what am I holding on to it for? Some things that helped me get through. My first week back, the BSA was doing their bake sale and selling t-shirts, and I bought a t-shirt. And a couple of my coworkers bought a t-shirt. The next day I come in, and this is hanging in the testing center. I had no idea. What a nice surprise. I feel so supported, I feel so loved, and this is, it still hangs up. This is the first time it's been down since it's been up. The other thing is, my cousin and his wife sent me a t-shirt right after Thanksgiving that I love. Secretly hoping chemo gives me superpowers. I truly wanted the superpower. I wanted to be able to teleport. Still can't do it. But this became part of my chemo costume with my wig and my t-shirt. I had, anytime I was having a bad day, I would get a call from somebody, a text from somebody, an email, a card, and it was amazing to me how often that happened. Like I'd get home and I just wouldn't be feeling great, and I opened up a mailbox and there's a card, or I'd get an email. I know that God was putting those people in my life for a reason to get me through this. Other things that happened, random acts of kindness from strangers. There was a gentleman who came into the testing center and he asked about my situation. I had seen him before. He had done a testing, placement test with us. He came back later that week with a coloring book with a really nice note in it, basically saying, "You're gonna rock this. What a great attitude you have." The other thing that got me through was I gave myself permission to have bad days. Because there are bad days. But I also found things to make me and Sean laugh. So what can you do for someone who has cancer? Basically the things I just talked about. Send them a text, even if it's just, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." You don't have to go into the, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're dealing with, what an awful thing." No, thinking about you, sending prayers, positive vibes, all those things help. It's amazing how those little things helped. What can you do for yourself? You can eat healthy and exercise, because it will give you strength to fight the tough battles. Had I not been in shape, this would have been a much more difficult thing to get through. Surround yourself with positive people who you can count on and who fill you with love, because they will be the strength you need when you feel depleted. Follow the rules. Get your mammogram at 40, get your colonoscopy at 50, get your prostate exam at 40. Don't put it off, because it could save your life. The earlier you catch it, the better you'll be. And remember, it can be so much worse. Thank you, folks.